Hello everyone, this is Luigi Kirby, and this is probably my first commentated video in like almost a decade. And I'm pretty sure all my commentated videos are unlisted by now. In any case, today I will be ranking every badge in the simulations. This is going to take hours. There's 275 of these things. So I won't waste too much time on the introduction here. You probably guess what these tiers mean. S tier, best of the best. You'll struggle to find a build that doesn't have at least one or two of these. And a lot of them will have have at least a good quarter of the tiers, or to the stuff in this tier. A tier is full of stuff that's very good, but is not necessarily essential to every build. It usually has some kind of downside attached to it that makes it not totally worth running all the time. B tier is where a lot of stuff is going to end up, which it's stuff that's good. You can definitely build around it, but it's not amazing, and it's not going to get you a win by itself. C tier is stuff that's just kind of meh. You could probably find some use out of it, but it's not great. And then D tier is full of trash that only one or two characters can use, and even then, they've got better options. And then challenge badges are just badges that actively make your life harder, and cosmetic badges are just badges that make the ref's life harder. Anyways, with that in mind, let's begin. Adrenaline Blitz! Right in D tier. Yeah, this thing's not that great. Aside from being a 2 BP danger badge, it's a danger badge that relies on you being hit, and being hit more than once. And anticipation. That's not a particularly common status, but whenever an enemy gets an extra move, uses a priority move, or uses a multi-hit, you attack the player before they use the move. Which, I guess it could maybe work in a danger build, but even then, there are better options. Like Yatagarasa's Wing, or just straight out Power Rush. Analyzing okay. This one it's okay. Yeah, C tier. Copying moves is pretty cool, and what else? I feel like I just did something else. I forgot what. Right. If they can't use it if they try to use it on the exact turn it was used, but otherwise, yeah. Plus it's 4 BP, which is pretty expensive. That's some utility, but as you'll see later on, there's a badge that does this, but just kind of better. Annoyed Guard. Alright, this is a new one. Annoyed Guard is funny. It's got some, particularly in combination with other guard badges. Honestly, I hate to put a guard badge this high, but I think this is B tier. I mean, I saw this going on in Apocalypse, and it's particularly good when dealing with summon armies and just things with low health that don't like getting hit normally. Yeah, it doesn't cancel multi-hits like Zap Guard does, but it works on projectiles, which is pretty big. And considering this is free, yeah. Anti-stun. I'm kind of debating between C and D on this one. Really don't. There's some use cases, particularly in PvP, where the matches are shorter and the immobilization negation can actually have an impact. At the same time, bosses are much more prevalent, and since they're usually longer, one immobilization negation isn't going to do much. So it's 1 BP though, and if I've seen what nanomachines can do, I think I'm gonna have to put this in C tier. I know this is my badge, and yeah, but yeah, I don't see this going somewhere else. Appeal Attack. And, let's do appeal first. Easy S tier. It's the easiest way to recover FP, and it's 1 BP and can easily be sacked to increase the FP recovery, which I don't. If you've played any Paper Mario at all, you know exactly why FP is useful, and you would know exactly why getting 4 at once is very useful for free, and without using any honey syrups or whatever. And on the note, the Field Attack can join it up here. It's more expensive, but the utility of attacking and recovering FP at the same time is pretty nice, and it's an FP recovery. You can't. What else do you want? Plus, it's synergized with stuff like Chaser and Hunter Instincts and Anticipation, funnily enough. So, no, maybe that's used for this. Armor Torch Shell. This is an interesting one because there's always. Because I'm gonna put it in B tier. There's always a chance that it's not going to do anything for you, but if you're on a boss you know is going to try and immobilize you, or an enemy you know has a lot of, or just another player who uses immobilization a lot, yeah, this is gonna be great, but there's always the chance that you slot this and just get nothing out of it, and that's why it's going in B tier. Armor Spreader. Shields are definitely becoming more and more common, and this is... I don't want to say this is a must-take for shield characters, but this is definitely very, very useful for those guys. Especially on people with hit shields like Digit or Papyrus. Oh god, Papyrus is a hit shield, that sounds scary. Honestly, those two alone might just push this to A tier, but do I think this is worth A tier on its own? It's like, you're not going to bring this unless you're using a shield character. But it's very... But at the same time, I want to look at these overall. I don't know. This could still be useful in other characters, because items, and Shield Monitor and Thornbloom are pretty good shields. I'll leave it in A tier for now. Also in A tier, a Sacrifice. This isn't always going to be the most helpful thing, but it's... Since, it does lower your HP now, and it's not quite the full BP upgrade like it used to be, but it's still really good. BP is basically the best thing ever, and having more of it in exchange for HP, which you'll have plenty of in almost all situations, yeah, A tier. Bandit's Curse. This, also known as all pain, all gain. D tier. If you want freaking power, if you want more power when people get in danger, just bring Power Rush. This thing gives you charge for getting into danger, when someone gets into danger or even peril, but not only is it a 3 BP danger badge by technicality, it's also a 3 BP danger badge with a downside. When someone dies, you take 3 damage. That just... yeah. Base attack, cosmetic. What do you want? Based? Whatever. Is that what people say these days? Alright, B-Nade. I forgot what this one does, but I ranked it as B tier last time. 3 damage to all foes and gain 2 Bs to assist you in battle. And Bs have... those aren't terrible stats. Yeah, I think B tier. It does a lot of things, and it hits all enemies with a decent attack. And it gets you 2 Bs, which... the Bs ain't bad. They're pretty... They hit hard enough, and especially with Sting. Alright, are we rolling? For real this time? Okay. So the whole thing started lagging in the middle of recording, and then when I tried to start recording again, I accidentally realized I did not stop the recording. So, here we are again. But, we're back now. Hopefully for real this time. And, I believe we're at Begotten Spirit, which, B tier. It's, theoretically, it should be a brown where Happy Heart is, since it's kind of putting that effect, the opposite of that effect, on an opponent, but you see, Problem is, this thing is the same BP cost as that, but it also costs 8 FP for that effect. So yeah. Don't get me wrong, it's still getting cool since it is kind of a permanent 1 damage every turn, and you don't want, and that's kind of something that it doesn't seem like much, but it is going to add up over time. All right, next up, the Bill Blasters. OG Bill Blaster, easy A tier. It's got a lot of damage for what it is, for 4 power attacks. And while you can't really buff those attacks unless you've got a team buffer, it's honestly still worth it. Those bullet bills hit pretty hard for Bill Blaster being relatively cheap, and it's not, and it still does plenty of damage. And it also has a pretty fast cooldown. You see, that's one of the big things with Bill Blaster. Of course, it is possible for the other guy to snipe them down before you attack, but they're still good, and they're gonna need to have hit at least the kind of hard for that to work. And on the other side of the coin, we have Bill Blaster Neo, which this one's a bit trickier since it relies on the Houston effect, which might not always work on bosses. And it has a longer cooldown, and it doesn't really, do that little, it doesn't really hit as hard. But Houston is actually kind of a nasty status, since if you don't pay attention to the rules, you're going to be slowing down for quite a bit. But is that enough to overcome the downsides compared to the original? Honestly, it might be. Hey, think about it. Since Houston is not a full immobilization, that means not all bosses are going to be immune to it. And with that in mind, you can potentially get them locked onto a pretty nasty move with the orange bullet. Or the blue bullet, actually, since, well, if they don't change their pattern, they're gonna be slowing down for a bit. And sure, this won't always work on all bosses, but it's going to work enough for it to be, it's going to work enough for them to have an effect. I think. At least that's how I would do it on my bosses. I can't speak for everyone. Binding card. This one does a lot, and granted, not all of those effects are going to be useful against bosses, which are the big thing here. They're all Strength Bind is good against certain bosses. Skill Bind can really put people in a bind. Badge Bind, well, that's probably not going to work on bosses. And then Speed Bind being dizzy, speed down, and you can't dodge it. Honestly, pretty fun. And particularly against particularly the dizzy effect. That's not something you want. But, obviously this is going to be way better against players, since, most people don't really have a way to deal with these. Since they're not statuses, those status timers are you're not going to be messing with them. And, particularly a badge bind there. That's basically nullified, but, just kind of ignores your statuses, so, not part of that. So, yeah, easy A tier on this. Birthright. S tier. You can kind of just do whatever the hell you want here. I mean, sure, it's per character, and some characters aren't going to have the same birthright as others. Like, I mean, yeah, you don't really, like, someone like, say, I don't know, anti-guy who just kind of ignores stuff with Shadow Salute. That's not going to be that great. But someone like LK, who basically can never run out of energy thing when he has birthright, you're never going to want to leave home without it. And That's the case for a lot of characters, and it's so customizable. You can just tailor it to whatever your character you think your character really needs, and that's the beauty of it. Is it like I said, it's not always going to be this great, but I think it's good. I think it's consistently great enough to the point where, yeah, it's gonna do it. Bleed attack. Gonna go B tier on this one. You see, the thing is with the attack badges, you usually want them to do damage, and this does do more damage than power and dual attack at base stats. The problem is, you can't really spam this one like you can with dual attack or power attack, since it might be the same cost, but you're not going to increase the total damage dealt by that much, since bleed is damage over time, and damage over time's duration is not going to be especially long, unless you have a bunch of status pluses, but that just makes the damage roll in for longer, not faster. And it's pretty good if your character happens to make use of double time, but not that many characters really do that, you know? But if you're looking for good attack badges, that's thinking of good, well, if you want a badge that does scale well, look no further than the Boomerang Blade. It's pretty pricey at 3 BP and 5 FP, but try attack. Projectile based. See, the try attack is so good because it basically takes your power and does triple that in damage. Sure, it kind of gets screwed over by defense buffs, but those aren't especially common, and there are ways around them. More importantly, though, you can just kind of keep spamming this one as much as you want, and as long as you have the FP, and just having +1 POW increases the damage output by 3, which is pretty insane. Compare that to bleed attack, where having a power buff only increases the damage output by 1, and that damage, and you know, and considering the damage, straight damage isn't gonna be what you want from bleed attack, anyways. Yeah. The status damage is cool, but it's not amazing. Borp Whistle. I think I put this in C tier last time, and I think it's still C tier. Does 4 damage to all foes and a 3-turn cooldown. You know, I think it's B tier now. I'm not sure if it got buffed since last time. It might have, but 4 damage spread attack is pretty good in a good amount of situations, and it's very cheap and has a very quick cooldown. And like, even if you're like, a lot of bosses make use of summons, which so they're gonna be taking a lot of damage. So they'll be taking a lot of damage from this thing, and more importantly, if you against since it's so fast, yeah, it's not going to be it's not going. That's screwing on my words. Since it's so fast, it's still even if there's only one boss, it's still free power attack every 3 turns, which that ain't that bad for 2 BP. It's never going to be a terrible choice. Bring a shock. Let me check this one because I forgot what this one does too. Blind on all foes. Okay. You know what? I think this one's B tier since it's pretty good, and accurate isn't good enough to. Accurate isn't particularly common, so it's probably going to affect people most of the time. But unlike with Bill Blaster Neo, most bosses are going to be immune to it. So that's going to have to drop it down for me. I don't think it's quite. I just don't think it's quite there for bosses. For PvP, it's basically if just PvP, this would probably be S tier, but as it stands, yeah, it's B tier. Brain of Confusion. Actually, hold on. Real quick, let me talk about deep cut attack real quick, since that's kind of important. Deep cut attack is, it's very expensive, and it does do more damage than most of the other attack badges. And I think it's most damaging stacked badge. The problem is, deep cut there has a lot of weaknesses, namely no status plus, and it can be healed away. And particularly the heal away part just makes this not good enough to throw up to A. Alright, now Brain of Confusion. S tier. I've mentioned this before, but pretty lucky. Just dodging attacks is absolutely insane, and the fact this makes it so that anytime you dodge attacks, makes it so that makes the boss or whoever's attacking you take 2 damage. That's actually crazy. Like, seriously, there's so much. There's a lot of untapped potential with Brain of Confusion. Some people have shown it off, like Hogetsu during the Seeing Double challenge. And I'm just invisible, but that's still it's a lot of damage, and that'll rack up over time, especially during a long fight. And it automatically comes with Pretty Lucky built in, which and Pretty Lucky, we'll get to Pretty Lucky, but that's also S tier. That but yeah, dodging attacks is outstanding. I mean, even with the nerfs to that recently. Brimstone. Last time this was here, this was A tier. However, it's gotten a nerf since then, with particular in its interaction with Ready Up. Is that enough to push it down to B tier, though? I'm gonna say it's not. Might not be instant powerhouse, but that is still triple damage to all foes, and what the hell are they gonna do about it? I mean, sure, yeah, like one character has a combo breaker, and it's possible you might get immobilized, or maybe they'll react to it, but yeah, no, this is triple damage to all foes. What do you want? Like, this attack is insane. Build up. This is a tough call. It might be C, it might be D. I'm gonna put C, but this is a very reluctant C. See, the thing is, build up. It's garbage in PvP fights since it can be base stacked away, but in boss fights, there's some potential use I can see, and the fact that you can stack it with itself to keep getting more build up over the course of multiple turns, so you can potentially take a lot less damage from a devastating attack once the boss finally decides to hit you. Regardless, uses up a lot of FP, takes forever. And at that point, just use Super Guard or bring a defensive character or something. Very strong considering putting it in D though, but I think there is the potential use for it. It's not great, don't get me wrong, but it could be worse. It used to be worse, and I think it is better now. It's still not great though. Calling Crystal. Yay. Yeah, I'm gonna put this one in A, I think. And none of these effects are amazing, but the fact of getting all of them, and they're free uses since they're soul stones, none of these, they're pretty good. I mean, you got a tri-attack, you got immune for 3 turns, you got Curse and Off Guard, you got Reflecting +1 power. All these are fine enough, but you can choose whatever you want. You can never really go wrong with the Calling Crystal. Alright, Captive Controls. This is a new one. Let's see here. I believe this is captured for 3 turns. Right, capture is a fun status, since sure you are taking control of the other character, but How much? But it's a lot more limited than possess, since your HP is linked to theirs with it active, and it's also kind of you also have to spend the FP for their special moves, and so it's a bit of a trade-off compared to position. It's a bit of a trade-off, and you also can't move yourself, and yeah, so you have to be a lot smarter with it. I mean, I'd say most bots are likely still immune to it, and that it's not like you really want to use this on a summon most of the time, so I'll throw that a B tier. I don't know, it's just when it works, it's probably really good, but at the same time, I feel like the situations in which it works are possibly quite limited. C cleaner. Here, clears all statuses from both you and your opponents and reverts form changes. Reverting form changes is interesting, but pretty niche. I want to say it's I wouldn't say that bumps it up a tier by itself, and the fact that it cures your opponent's statuses too is not the best thing ever, but in boss fights you're usually going to have more status. If you're bringing this, you're probably going to have more statuses than your opponent does, and it's pretty cheap as far as soul stones go, so I'm fine with putting it here. Charge. Yeah, charge might not be that great these days, but I still can't see myself putting it below C tier, or below B tier, actually. I mean, might not be the best thing in the world, but you're still getting pretty decent damage out of it, and if you stack with, and sure, it's going to be a cost commitment to stack it, but it's gonna do a lot of damage. I wouldn't say it's not going. I put it in A tier on my old list, and I think the cost means it's not quite there these days. I still think it's good enough, especially in combination with Tri Attack or something like Drill Step or Ground Pound. Since those things, they'll do monster damage with charge. Chemical reaction. This is a funny one. Upon entering danger, gain chosen common, not overstays lasts for 3 turns. Peril lets you reactivate it. So where is this is a tricky one to rank. The thing is, it's 3 BP and it only activates when you get to danger, but I don't know, it's tricky. I'm gonna say B tier. I can see some very powerful uses for it, especially in combination with other danger badges, but that's a lot of BP for a danger badge. And even if it's basically whatever you want, it's only for 3 turns and you can't reactivate it. Jump Proceed. I believe I put this in A tier last time. I think I'm still putting this in A tier. It's a pretty solid summon right there, and it's reasonable. It's not the most expensive thing in the world, and it'll do you some solids while it's alive, and let me see here. Pull it up. That's right. Right, yeah, okay, let's get Greystone Pal. You can do a lot of things with Chompy here. You can do a lot of statuses, and and since it always has one of these active, it can do quite a bit for you. Sleep, Sparky, Poison, FP recovery, just more damage. That's all pretty good. I think it's still A tier. Close Call. Is this S or is this A? I'm going to say A. Close Call is very powerful in bosses, though it is a bit abusable in PvP just because it can base stack the dodge away. But, you know, it's, that does not stop it from, still being, dodgy while in danger for 1 BP. And, yeah, that dodgy is pretty dang good. Like, a lot of bosses, you can get away with a lot of stuff in bosses, and it might not be stackable anymore. It's still pretty good. Cloud V. Yeah, it's A tier. It's a bit of a commitment, and it's a bit of a commitment to equip, but yeah, that does a lot of freaking damage. What do you want from a Soul Stone? Clover Remnant. Yeah, it's got an A tier. It's basically a sac. It's kind of the equivalent to a. Honestly, it's pretty comparable to Sacrifice, since it's plus 2 FP permanently. You know, it's not the best thing in the world, but like, yeah, it doesn't have to be. It does the job. Alright. Next up we got Contractor Plus. Honestly, A tier. It's expensive. It's very expensive. But plus 1 power and plus 1 defense, yeah, that's pretty good. But there's not a lot to it, but you know, it's better than just equipping the 2 badges individually, and if you have enough space for this, there's very little reason not to go for it. Since, like, if you have enough BP for this to be an option, it's one of the better options you can take. The main thing holding it back is just, you know, a lot of times you're not going to have enough BP for this to be a viable option. Cool Badge and Cool Badge B are cosmetics. Out of the cosmetic badges, I hate these ones most. I don't know why they're added, honestly. Alright, Cool Shades is next. And I believe these Cool Shades are made to cure all accuracy-reducing statuses and grant Inspired to the rest of your team for 3 turns. And honestly, that's pretty good. I'd say that's pretty good. I'm gonna put that in A. Inspired is a really good status, honestly. It's Contractor Plus for the while it lasts, and it only has a very minor downside, really. So yeah, A tier. Now I believe next up is Corrupted Spirit, which, yeah, if I recall it correctly, I put Corrupted Spirit in C tier. I don't really remember what it does. Let me check that real quick. Yeah, okay, your attacks all inflict speed down for a turn, and you gain permanent bleed. And it doesn't even do the 6 spread thing where it gives you poison power, reverse toxin, or status plus. Yeah, it's pretty bad. And there's some uses to speed down, like, you know, it's kind of just permanent priority for you if you do things right, but yeah. Now, Cursed Coin. Did I have Cursed Coin on here? I don't think I did. Yeah, I don't think I had this last time. 250 coins spent on items, but minus 1 defense. 250 coins is a lot. It's 2.5 times what you get for 1 BP normally, but that minus 1 defense is gonna suck. And it still does cost 1 BP. I hate to do this to your pencil, but I'm gonna put this in D tier. That minus 1 defense is ish. I mean, there's definitely some uses to it, but this that permanent debuff for the temporary temporary plus 1 POW is or the temporary item, I guess. Yeah, not feeling it. Curse Curse of Cherry, Curse of LK, and Curse of TD are all in challenge badges. They're pretty cool, but, you know, they're challenge badges. What do you want? Curse. Yeah, it's going right next to Build Up, I think. Now, Trunko has shown that there's definitely some more uses out of Curse than there is for Build Up, but I don't think it's enough to push it above C tier. I mean, it's the same principle, but it applies to the boss instead of you. And yeah, it's still C tier. Custom Cannon. Basically Birthright, but for your summons. Yeah, this is A tier. Not many people have used it, and it's kind of unlike Birthright, it's got to follow the cooldown rules. But it still kind of does a lot. I mean, it kind of just does whatever the hell you want, really. Cybernetic Enhancements. Now, this is an interesting one. 2 HP and 2 FP per turn is really good, but if you can't restore HP or FP from anything else, that's gonna be pretty nasty. In some cases. I'm very tempted to put this in A tier. I just could go in B tier too, but I don't know, A tier? There's a lot of recovery, but it also locks you out of a lot of options, and options such as Appeal, and you're never restoring more FP than the 2 FP per turn, even with something like Double Time, or Happy Heart, or Happy Flower, and yeah. I don't know, I think that's enough to push it down to B tier, but since it's 4 BP, but I'm willing to be proven wrong on that. D down attack. C tier. See, the thing is, power attack is just usually going to be better than this, and not enough. Like, even if somebody has 2 defense, D down attack is not going to be your best option, since it's not going to be as good as. It's going to be the same as power attack, but not a lot of things have 2 defense, and power attack is just more consistent. You can still stack it for smash attack, but you know, that's kind of just the same deal as mega attack. So yeah, staying at C. The D1. Dang it. Okay, the D1. Easy A tier. Honestly, candidate for S. It does a lot for what it does. It does a lot. Sure, you gotta spend that 4 BP on it, but as long as taking 1 turn every once in a while just to give you a permanent buff in your stats, especially after something like Contractor Plus. This is really good. Sure, it's going to be a lot of BP you're spending initially, but and it does take a while to get that snowball rolling. But it's that. Honestly, that does not stop it. It's still really good, and like I said, candidate for S tier right there, really. The D6. I'm gonna say B tier. Rerolling on the. This could go in C too, honestly, but fuckery potential is probably still in B. Yeah. It's pretty powerful. You're gonna. Oh, where did I put it on my last tier list? Let me pull it up real quick. Yeah, last tier list, I also put it in B. Yeah, rerolling badges on the fly is pretty good and can potentially get you some more. It has to stay in the same category, but see, the thing is, it's a reroll. The thing is, it doesn't care about the BP cost when you reroll, so you can potentially turn something like, oh, I don't know, Clover Remnant into Contractor Plus. And I don't know about you, but that sounds like a great improvement. So yeah, I think if it could be a B tier for that alone. Danger Zone. A tier. Danger strats have only been getting more popular lately, and Danger Zone can really makes those safer, honestly. And especially when you have multiple of them. Because that 5% can turn that little 5% buff stacked with the normal stats you get, and and adding 3 of them can turn into 4. You get 40% into your HP being in danger, and well, on a 20 HP build, danger being 40%, and means if you're at 8 HP, you can take the advantage of all these other danger badges, which are all really good. Daybreaker. I swear to God. Daybreaker. Throwing this in B tier. This used to be pretty bad, but yeah, I think it's good now. You can't dodge now, and it's pretty good at PvP since it's permanently lowering the max HP by 5, which can have quite a bit of an impact, especially on people with low HP builds. Supernova. Granted, this isn't going to be as good against bosses, but 5 fixed undodgeable damage is still fine. I mean, 4 BP is a lot to spend on this, but I think it's earned its place as a decent soulstone now. Decoration motif, cosmetic. Defend plus, A tier. It's +1 defense. What more do you want? It's expensive, but like, come on. You're getting a lot of defense out of this thing, and that defense is good. I'm gonna zoom out now since this thing is getting tall. And it's only going to get taller from here. Defense spotter. B tier. Yeah, knowing defense isn't really as helpful as knowing HP, but, like, it's still good. What do I want? Demon Heart. I'm thinking on this one. Is this S tier or A tier? This thing is a lot of builds don't really duplicate a badge and don't really duplicate badges too much and don't really need to go past the badge cap. But the fact that it can go past the badge cap, oh boy, and the fact that it can save you 1 BP. Yeah, I think that's still S tier. I hate to say it, but yeah, this thing's cracked. Like, saving BP is insane in this game, And sure, it's limited, but the fact that it can do such a thing is probably good enough on its own. And not to mention it can clone badges past their caps, which this little D1 here cannot do. But this thing, oh boy, attack that with a close call or an appeal, or it's pretty good with a peel attack. Yeah. Destabilizer. I forgot when I put this last time. It's pretty. Because I put this in B tier last time, which I don't entirely disagree with, but you know what? Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. B tier is, you see, the thing is, it kind of prevents the opponent from playing the game every other turn, and it's kind of like it. But they could still hit you, but it's kind of like lucky day in that way. But it's not quite as. It's definitely not as good as that, but I think it's still good. One moment. And we are doing Devil Deal. Yeah, the Devil Deal is a pretty interesting badge, sacrificing max HP in exchange for, more badges, which I'm not gonna complain about. I mean, you can't break bad. It's kind of like, I wouldn't say it's as good as D1 unless you're capable of getting more HP, just because, this is going to start eating away no matter how much you start it, but, since it can get whatever you want under 3 BP, I'm gonna put this in A tier. not amazing by any means, but it's good enough to get you what you want. Doki Doki Manga. I'm gonna put this in C tier. Counter on attack effects aren't the most common thing in the world, and it does. Main thing is that it can. I believe it gets around Sparky, which is probably the biggest perpetrator of those things, but I still don't think those are quite common enough to justify spending 2 BP on most of the time, but it's got its niches. Speaking of things with niches, Double Dip. Items are more popular now, but I still don't see Double Dip being picked much. Probably because it costs FP to use the items, and you're still not going to have more than one item a lot of the time. And even if you do, you'll probably just want to spend... It's probably just going to be better to put multiple turns into it rather than spend the 2 BP and 2 FP on this. This one can even stack into Triple Dip, but yeah, that just has the same issues. Double Pain! Straight into challenge badges. What do you want from me? Let's see, what's this next one called? I legitimately forgot. Dracopin's Bound. When hit, become airborne for the rest of the turn. Alright, now this is a weird one. Airborne is a status I have very mixed feelings about. But at the same time, projectiles are common enough to the point where, yeah, it's not going to do a lot in a lot of fights, but in those fights where it does work in, that 3 BP is well worth it, so I'm gonna keep it in C. Drain Guard. D tier. It's a guard badge, and one that only works on contact attacks, and it's not even that bad when you do hit it. So yeah. Drone Gunner. Is this A or B tier? Yeah, I'm gonna say A. 1 fixed damage each turn is pretty nice, and you know, it's... You know, you don't want... It's not winning any awards, I think, but it's cheaper than Power Plus, and you can aim it wherever you want, and I believe it also triggers dodge effects for some reason. So yeah, it's got its uses. I still wouldn't pick it over Power Plus, but it's fixed damage, and yeah. Dual Attack. S tier. Wait, what? Dual Attack, S tier. It scales good. It stacks into Tri-Attack. What more do you want? It's spammable. It does a fuck ton of damage. It gets around dodge strats. What more do you need? Dynamax bands. These are cheaper than Final Smash, and the effect is arguably better than what you get for a lot of Final Smashes. And it can be used immediately, but you only get 1 per team. I don't know. I'm gonna put it in A tier. I don't know. It's a tough call. I could see it going down to B, but in fact I think in my original list, yeah, in my original list it was B, but honestly, it's cheap and it's pretty powerful when it's active, so I can see it A tier. Might change my mind on that one. You know, actually, yeah. Yeah, it's B. The thing is, it is powerful as it may be, it is only temporary, and you know, it's also possible the opponent just goes onto the defensive to just ignore your courage and airtight, while also kind of reducing the effects of your you know, what is it, huge and piercing? Yeah, I guess they can't really go into the defensive against piercing most of the time, but still. Ed's Lucky Can. Yeah, now this is an A tier badge. It's not going to be great on 1v1s ever, pretty much. But in in multiplayer, in boss battles, that's pretty good. I still would take it over a heal personally, but since you gotta rely on other people doing the job for you, and it doesn't require quite as much, but it's pretty good. And for 3BP. And, you know, you can essentially get a lot done if you're built around it. And, or even if you don't. I mean, you saw, I mean, some of you who are in Apocalypse saw how good it was. Electric Flower. This is a badge I don't particularly like very much, but I can't deny that it's probably pretty good once it's active. Thing is, FB. Thing is, this thing doesn't quite. Thing is, I don't know. Is it good? Actually, I'm not sure. I mean, the effect of 2 electric flowers is not bad as long as you have electric status, but at the same time, it doesn't really. I don't know. Actually, I mean, it's not. I mean, if you got, I mean, it really just takes a Voltrum to make use of these, but actually, you know what? I think the Voltrum alone makes it B tier, since even if it doesn't work with Zap Tap, I'm pretty sure it doesn't work with Zap Tap. Just bring the stuff, get a Voltrum, and yeah, you're golden. These things will carry you for a while. Electric Gem Replica. Now, Sparky is a pretty nasty effect, especially in multiple people, but I'm still putting it in C. You see, the thing is, it's only good against people who use a ton of multi-hits, otherwise it's just kind of an okay poison. That doesn't always work. And it doesn't work ever on people who don't attack, which, I mean, if it's not going to be a lot of people, but, you know, the effects aren't always that great, and it's got a decently long cooldown. It's not the longest thing ever, but at the same time, that Sparky is, I don't know, Sparky isn't quite worth it in my opinion. Elemental Changer, D tier. Elements are getting more support these days, but they're still not. I still did spend 2 FP and 1 BP to change mine. I'd rather just have the character that does that thing. Erasure Bomb. This thing is quite the force to be reckoned with. Data Rot is quite powerful status. I believe with the Erasure Bomb, that totals up to about 1 plus 2 plus 4 plus 8 damage. It's 15 damage. It's quite a lot for something you can repeat. Now granted, that is a long cooldown and a pretty hefty BP cost, so... But, yeah, I think this is still worth it. Especially against bosses that don't have a ton of HP, and especially against players, oh my god. Evaporating Badge. C tier. +1 power is nice, especially in the distortion events where the 2 damage return doesn't matter a whole lot, but, yeah. Still not feeling this one. It's cheap, but at that point, just go for P up, D down. Everlasting Coffee. Easy A tier. Definitely a candidate for S as far as Soulstones go, but I think A tier is fine. Mega Caffeinated is great, and the fact you can't just get its spawn sniped off of you means you're always going to get at least one thing with the double turn, and that double turn is going to get you pretty far. Because if you've seen what people can do with 2 turns, oh boy, it gets pretty wild. Executable File. I think this is B tier. It's not great. It's not great at all in in boss fights, but when you're in a PvP match, when you're not really planning on healing anyways, Yeah, that's pretty solid. It's just cheaper power plus, if not really gonna bother healing. Extra crispy chicken. Our fire attacks good enough. Our fire attacks prevalent enough to make this useful. Maybe. Our fire attacks prevalent enough to make this useful while also taking 2 damage each time you use one. I'm gonna say no. So into C tier goes. Eye of Caution. D tier. Single use badge that's even more niche than anti-stun. Fast attack. Okay, Cherry is alright, this is one I'm debating. This could also go B, C, or D. It's just that Cherry showed that this does combo very well with wilted strats, and I do think that this combined with dual attack or boomerang blade can lead to some pretty devastating results. But at the same time, this thing is 4 FB to use, so that's pretty nasty. I'm just gonna put it in C tier just because I don't really know where to put it. Since there's some theoretically really powerful uses, especially the aforementioned wilted badges, which, trust me, we will get to. But, yeah. Feeling fine. This one's gone up and down a lot. I think I'm gonna plop it into B tier for the time being. It's a tricky one to rank to be sure, but yeah, I think this feels right still, I think. I mean, it's not going to I mean, it's not as good as it was in its glory days, but it's 2 BP and that on bosses who lose a lot of statuses like Ceramic Lonian Tomb, they can really help. Feeling fine P. Yeah, I don't know. Summons are not. Thing is, summons are very good. Don't get me wrong, but how often do you want to put a? How often when you're fighting a summon? How often do you even want to put a status on it in the first place, rather than just kill it? Not very often. I think this is D tier. I mean, it's potentially good when it does work, but like, yeah, it's just too niche, you know. File pen. Having put D down attack in C tier, I think this is B tier. It's not the best thing in the world, but how much BP is it actually? I don't remember. 2 BP to make every third attack piercing, basically, or make an attack piercing every 3 turns. It's fine, I suppose. It works really well with, stuff like Boomerang Blade or Dual Attack, but that kind of has to worry about defense a lot. But I don't know, piercing is not the best thing in the world. However, unlike the Dual Attack or Did Not Attack versus Power Attack, I do think it's a bit closer to its POW equivalent being Incinerator, just because Incinerator is only +1 POW compared to the piercing option, whereas Power Attack is +2 POW compared to its piercing option. So, yeah. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Final Assault. I think this is B tier. Fire Saver in danger is pretty neat, but there's better things you can get for 1 BP, like Close Call and Power Rush. Fire is starting to get pretty common, but that doesn't mean the shield is. Yeah, it's going straight into D tier. It's not. Most fire I've brought up the fire shield versus flammable thing before, and it does help against flammable, but it's still not really worth bringing most of the time. Okie dokie, yeah. Flame Shield. I believe this is a new one. I know Flame Shield. This is Fire Shield. Is great. Permanent fight on a shield. I think that's pretty cool. Well, since yeah, you know that's generally your opponent is going to have to interact with the burn fight at least a little bit, or spend FP on taking out the shield. And even if they don't, shields are still pretty good. So I'm gonna put this in A tier. It's a bit spendy, yeah. How much BP is it? But it's, you know, I think shields are just generally pretty good, so yeah. Flare automation. How much is this? 4 FP. Yeah, I'm gonna put this in C tier. Really doesn't benefit from power attacks at all, power badges at all, and it might benefit if you can like double time or acidic, but those aren't particularly common, and yeah, I don't know. For that cost, you kind of want. I'd rather just take Mega Attack, you know? Same cost, and you don't have to wait for it to run out. Flinch Attack, and suppose we'll talk about Sleep Attack too. I think this is good enough in PvP since it stuns the other guy. And that can get pretty annoying pretty fast, and it's really cheap too. It's never going to do anything in bosses, let's just be honest here. And Sleep Attack is a lot of FP too. Flip! I have not done anything this one. This, and nobody else has either. But, if Supernova has taught me anything with Tainted Sacrifice, then I imagine this thing can probably get pretty stupid. That nobody can really be bothered to figure out how to really use this thing, so into B tier it goes. I'm sure it can. I'm sure you can do fun stuff with it. Probably. I mean, just if you can figure out how it works, more power to you. Zoom out. Alright, Flower Power. The Flower Badges are kind of tricky to really use properly since you have to not use FP, but yeah, I'm going with B tier here. Since, you know, but to be honest, it suited well with Petty FP Saver, and, you know, that +2 power if you're not planning on using FP, it's pretty good. Pretty good. And it's also good with Happy Flowers, too. Flower Saver. A tier easily. It's not as good as Happy Flower, but, you know, it's not, you're never going to complain about having your moves be cheaper, you know? And this isn't too expensive a badge either, so it's always going to be, yeah, save 1 FP. And if you're using a lot of special moves, which you're probably going to be using a lot of special moves, yeah, this thing's good. Flower Shield. Where did I put this one last time? C tier. Yeah, I think that's still C tier. It's not amazing, but at the same, since you're going to be losing a lot of FP if you use it, but you know, having all the damage you take halved is not a bad thing. So I think there are ways you can use it, but I don't know. I just can't see myself using it particularly well. And you know, I feel like, and now that it's been banned with Pity Flower, it's gonna be pretty hard to really get that FP back without using up your turn, you know? Focus! Yeah, I think this goes to... Well, is this A tier? Because, like, usually when you have... Usually you want... I don't know. I think this... Yeah, I think this could actually be B tier, since... Its healing is very good, but, you know, this also doesn't scale. well, since the FP cost skill is 2, you're going to be spending quite a bit of that here, and yeah, usually in fights where you want to heal, you have someone else do the healing, and or just bring Happy Heart, and I don't know. Yeah, this one's definitely candidate for A tier, but I'm gonna put a B for now. Force Nova. Honestly, this is not bad at all, really. I mean, it's a 1 damage spread attack, sure, which, those aren't amazing. That's not amazing, but protecting your team against enemy projectiles is actually pretty decent, so... Is it A or B, though? I think it's A. It's definitely on the cusp of that range, but... The thing is, a lot of the time enemy attacks are going to be projectiles, especially in my fights, and, yeah. Fortifier. Yeah, I think... I put this in B tier last time, but I think this is C tier now. I can't... The thing is, it's technically better than bringing 2 Soul Hearts, but... Since it's cheaper on BP. But 10 turns of Fortified isn't that much, and the Fortified will automatically go away after a while, and... Unlike for something like Lucky Start, that's just... I don't know, it's just... The 10 HP shield isn't really gonna mean as much. And if you really want a shield, to start out with, bring Mana Shield or Soul Heart. Ooh. In any case, FP Drain. I think, where did I put this one last time? I believe I put this in A tier. And, you know what, I can still see myself putting this in A tier. Since, I don't know, you can restore a lot of FP with it with the right kit. You can basically, with stuff like Drill Stab or Ground Pound, you can get them in forever as long as you have enough POW on your side. And it does kind of get screwed over by defense sometimes, but I think there's enough ways around that to make this not an issue. FP plus D tier, it's basically just the POW, basically just the same as upgrading it most of the time. What do you want? Technically it should be B tier since it is the same as upgrading the stat, but come on, man. I believe next up is FP plus P, which, this is a really weird one, because only a few people, summons aren't the most common thing in the world, and summons with special moves are even less common, but, I know those guys who do have those summons, this is really good. So, I don't know. Like, if it's on those people, it's definitely A or even S tier, but like, on anyone else, it's trash, so, I don't know. But since so few people can take advantage of it, I'm not going to put it that high, so I'll just put it in B tier. Frosty Fingers, D tier, it's pretty bad. Not even guaranteed to get 12 hits on him in a match. And on someone who can even, get frozen, Frosty Remnant. Yeah, I think it probably goes in the same tier as Electric Flower. Actually, should it be? I feel like this could be lower. Because, yeah, Electric... Like... Yeah, Frosty... Yeah, the 2 FP cheaper one is probably the best of the 3 things from Electric Flower, but... And this gives you that for cheaper, but... And it does synergize with Ice Shield, so yeah, I guess. I don't know, there's not too many electric or ice-based positive effects though, so yeah. I'll keep it here for now since it is kind of good when you have the things that can work with it, but yeah. Well, actually, am I going to? No, you don't. there might be. See, the thing is, this doesn't have a. There's a. There's the iced potato, sure, but this doesn't really. There's no. There's no volt. The ice flower doesn't have a Voltrum to really use it on, so you're either gonna have a negative effect the whole time, or you're really not gonna be able to take advantage of it except with very specific characters. So yeah, C tier. Fuzzy Frenzy, A tier. Might knock you out of danger, but that's probably the point of it, really, since you can get a lot of healing, especially in combination with Power Rush. And especially, even more so in combination with Yatagaras's Wing, which we'll get to. Gap Guard. Pretty spendy, but basically, it kind of makes hitting you while you're guarding a death sentence. And yeah, I think this is also B tier. Basically, because yeah, no, that's a lot of damage to be taking if you're guarding. Gear Shift. C tier. You can make it work, but oh boy, those badge moves. Because like, a lot of badge moves are already pretty cheap, and this can potentially synergize that. But at the same time, making your actual moves more expensive is not great for most characters. You see. Alright, Glacier Wings. This is a new one. Yeah, it's another one of those ones that's it's really good on particular characters, but if you're not one of those particular characters, it's basically useless. Unless you have Elemental Changer, but this thing is trash. So I'll throw it into I think it's C tier, just because so few characters can really use it, but this one... Actually, no, I think it's B tier. Frozen is useful enough, and it's generally pricey enough for that soul HP to actually make a difference, so yeah. Glitch Counter. Gang Glitch is funny. +2 def is nice. Is it 5 FP though? Is it still B tier if it's 5 FP though? Yeah, I think this one's gonna be in C tier. I put it in B tier a while back, but the old tier list, but yeah, it's I don't know, just can't see it working, you know? The game glitch doesn't work on bosses, and on players, it's only kind of helpful, you know? Plus, it's only +2 defense. Green Chaos Emerald. This is kind of interesting. It's supposed to be a status redirection, which can be pretty fun. I think it's B tier. It's not. It's pretty. It's gonna cost you a bit of FP and time, but you know, it's pretty fine. I think. Group focus. Honestly, with focus in B tier, I think this would be where that is, but I think it's A tier since being able to use it on your allies is actually a pretty big buff for only 1 extra BP. This is another one that could go down, but I think so I was on the edge about focus, and group focus is better. Yeah, I'm gonna put it in A. Guard attack. This is a strange one to rank. So it's you see the thing is it's trash by itself, but it also synergizes with all of the other guard badges, and there's quite a few good ones now, such as Gap Guard, and all three of these are actually really good. And it definitely doesn't hurt to have an immune guard or say a super guard on top of that. So, but I think for the synergy, it might be B tier. Yeah, but on its own, it'd be D tier easily. But for the synergy in mind, it's B. Gutsy band. This is, I think it's A tier. It takes a while to get that critical hit going, but it's double damage. What more? It's really double damage is never something to complain about, and it's only 3 VP, and it's every 5, and it's possible for the other person to work around this 5-turn thing, but no, you can definitely make that work. Half health hero, challenge badge. Hammer throw. I mean it's just the worst power attack. I mean, what do you want? I mean, it doesn't stack. It doesn't do as much damage. I mean, it works as petty FP saver, I guess. But yeah, Happy Flower S tier, no questions asked. Restoring FP constantly means it's better than Flower Saver most of the time, and it synergizes with double time. So, and you know, sure, if you're building more than once per turn, it's not going to be quite as good as Flower Saver, but no, I think it's still great. Happy Heart goes in A tier. It's not as good as Happy Flower, since it's much easier to take care of healing than it is to take care of FP, but or counter the to lower someone's HP than it is to lower your FP, but yeah, it's still really good. And that's the reason you can only have one of these. Heart and Soul. Supernova's definitely made some arguments for this to be S tier. I think I'm still going to put it in A tier since it does still have some glaring weaknesses, but that's a very, it'd be A plus if that was a thing. It'd be very close to S tier. Let's see here. Because like this enables so many strategies. It basically gives you a ton more FP to work with, and it gives a good amount of tankiness as well. You just have to be, and it works really well with the danger badges too, which are a lot. You just have to be very careful you don't accidentally, you don't fly too close to the sun with it, you know? Heart Container. This is interesting, but I think I'm still going to put it in C tier. It's kind of interesting as a danger thing to help with the danger and and a cheaper HP upgrade, but since you don't get the HP from the start, you don't. I'm not sure how useful this is, you know? Heavy Blade. I want to say this is B tier since it synergizes pretty good with Mega Attack, and it's kind of hard to get a ton of attack power, enough attack power to bypass that kind of synergy. So this won't make a Mega Attack free, but they'll make it very close to free. Hold Fast. I think this is B tier. I forget where I put it. Let me check where I put it last time, but +1 defense while you're in danger is nothing to complain about, and yep, it's B tier last time, but yeah. You know, it does its job well. Just a little bit of extra just a little bit of extra help when you're in danger, just to make sure you don't die immediately. You usually won't want this by itself, but it's nice to have. Holy Mantle. This is a strange run. I think it's B tier now. Since it's multi-use. The recharge time is rather slow, but at the same time, it does a lot for you when it gets going. And since it only procs on high damage attacks, you can't really it's a lot harder to just proc it to get out of the way, you know? You have to interact with the Holy Mantle. Honor Bound. Yeah, I think this is A tier. Permanent Huge is nothing to scoff at. And, sure, it's 3 BP and only activates when you get in danger, but what do you want? I mean, it's +2 POW forever, and if you got a good healer, this thing is gonna serve you really well. Hope Clouds. A tier, leading on S. Because, man, this thing is, if immune is great, and, well, it might have a lengthy cooldown when considering that it takes into account the time the status lasts. Yeah, curing all negative statuses and becoming immune to all negative statuses for a while can really shut some people down. And it's only 3 VP if I recall correctly. Yep, 3 VP. HP drain. I recall this being 1 tier below FP drain, and yeah, that's pretty much it. HP is never quite as useful to recover. Usually not quite as good as FP, but it's still pretty good in its own right and can keep you pretty healthy, especially with danger builds. The Fuzzy Frenzy does that job better. HP plus D tier. Same as FP plus, really. HP plus P. Do I put this with FP plus P? I think I do. So it's, yeah, summons are pretty good, and having their HP multiplied by 1.5 is pretty nice. Ooh, let's see. Yeah. Next up, we get Hunter Instincts, which I think is pretty solid. I think it's solid B tier, especially with its combination with a peel attack, and just it can really build up a lot. You can really get a lot of damage going if you have a high attack build already, especially in combination with something like spread attack and multi attack. And it also being permanent in danger means it synergizes as well with danger badges, which is always nice. Alright, next up is Icy Charge Shot, which is interesting. That said, I don't think Freeze Charge is quite good enough to actually be good. Considering Splinter Frost sort of does the same thing, but better most of the time. It's not the worst thing, but yeah, I don't see it being super useful, so. Same tier as Flinch Attack. Ice Shield. Yeah, this is going with Fire Shield. I mean, Ice, sure, getting frozen sucks, but, yeah, no, it's still not great. Illusion Feather. I've yet to see this one be used, but, for sheer trolling potential alone, I'm putting it in B. You can, mess with the turn order and, well, not the turn order, but like, you know, say you got multiple bosses and one of them's about to do something strong on you. Just pull out the feather and, boom. They're getting hit, they're hitting themselves. That's the whole point of the illusion fight, after all. Immune Guard. Yeah, I know this is another guard badge I'm putting in B, but yeah, status immunity, that's really good, honestly. For its worth, Gap Guard is a contender for A tier just for the sheer power of the counter. Karma counter. Incinerator. Well, I mentioned before that File Pen is B tier, but I also mentioned that the difference between it and Incinerator isn't as big as the difference between D-Down attack and power attack. So I think Incinerator is still B tier, and fire attacks have counters such as this that kind of makes it not A tier. It's still good though, it's just not my personal pick. Infrared Vision. I think this is B tier. It's got some good uses, but the overheat thing and only really being available every 4 turns means it's kind of meh. Insane Laughter is cosmetic. Okay. Internet, dial-up. John Arbuckle. Item attack. even in the age items are actually good, this is still bad. So yes, a 2 FP just to throw, and if you really want to throw a base attack on something, yeah, I mean, you can. Fast attack does exist. I mean, it's charged more expensive, but you know, that's what you get for having, you know, more stuff. Item booster. Easy A tier. Honestly, with items being so good now, it might be S. Yeah, this is A tier even when the item stuff was bad, I think. I'd have to double check that. But, yeah, seriously. 1.5x multipliers are always crazy, and, yeah, this is really good with that in mind. And yes, what item token. You know, items are, you know, with items being much cheaper now, you would think this would be higher, but you know, the fact that it's one use means I can't comparing it to stuff like Monopoly Card, or another characters with I can't see myself putting it above this. I mean, okay, maybe B tier since well, I could have. I said I can't see myself, but then here I am contemplating putting it in B tier, but. I think it's C tier. It's just items do open up a lot of strats, but yeah, the thing is, Monopoly card just does that. But yeah, and not having to spend a turn like you would with Monopoly card is nice. But I don't know. I'll drop it in B tier just because items haven't buffed since my last tier list, and I did put item token there last time. But, I don't know, Monopoly card is seriously putting this thing out of a job most of the time. It's not to say it's useless, but yeah. Karmic Salvation. Basically, it turns all attacks against you into karma. Karma once you're below. As if it makes... Oh, not well, kind of. Basically makes it as if Sans attacked you while you're low health. Then, I think it's A tier. That karma will eventually come to bite you. Especially if you're running a pure danger strat, especially if you're running the insta danger strat, where you're you know, taking one damage, where you know, you don't have much HP to tank the karma damage, but you know, it can really buy you a lot of time, especially for its 2 BP cost. King Matt's Mirror, most expensive danger badge. I think it's B just because actually, you know what, I think I'm putting it at A. Reflect is a really powerful status, and even with the caveats that King Matt's Mirror has, it's still just reflecting all projectiles sounds quite crazy, to say the least. Sure, you can get put into a situation where the opponent doesn't have projectiles, or can just ignore the mirror. But projectiles are, like I said, pretty dang common. Cooper's Everfrost badge. Yeah, I think this is C tier. Here, let me just check this thing out again. Yeah, 4 HP and Frosty. I mean, it's cheap enough, and it's cheap enough, and you know, it's a fine enough heal, but it's just you're not getting much out of this. Ooh. Last Stand. Yeah, this is going in A tier. Having damage is amazing. It's more costly than Holdfast, but it's well worth that cost. Especially when you're learning those low HP builds, since having damage is, pretty crazy. Life Extender. A tier alongside Clover Remnant. I'm pretty sure this actually works out to be about the same as a Sacrifice in terms of the HP to B. In terms of the HP to BP for level up thing. You know what I mean. Lightning item. It's another one that's, I think, work with me, your website. I think this is A tier. Particular combination with Monopoly card, and especially in combination with characters that can gain that can already gain items. This thing is crazy. Crazy. It really speeds up the item game, and it's only 2 PP, so pretty nice. Lotus Star. Doubling your healing profile is really good. I think since this works on both HP and FP, you can get back up pretty fast with this. Does it? How long does it last? Actually, let me check something out. 3 turns. Yeah, it's only 3. Alright, lucky day. I think this is A tier at permanent dodgy, as we've seen. It'd be really freaking good, and yeah, this is really freaking good. It's 7 BP, but well worth it. As we've seen from Chow, managing to beat Darkon by himself with it. Lucky Start. I think this goes in B alongside Chemical Reaction. Since they're basically the same badge, just one activates at the start of the match, and one activates when you get into danger. They're still both very versatile, but they can only get you so far. Magic Beam. Kind of hard to judge, but yeah, I think it's worth the cost. That's it. It's definitely it's a spendy one to be sure. But Super HP Region and Super FE Region are both really good, and it gives those to Team White for 5 turns. So 5 BP ain't bad. Magical Paintbrush. This is obviously only good in PvP, but with it being single use and all. But I think with that in mind, it's just, I honestly don't think it turns one of their badges into something else, and it has to be something else that they already have, which isn't always going to be great. And since it's single use, you can't really ruin this person's setup all the time, so definitely has some usage, but it's not consistent enough. Mana Shield goes straight to S tier. May not be a strict upgrade over just upgrading HP, but it's damn close. It does so much for you. Like automatically regening as long as you don't take damage, and but otherwise it's a soul heart. Granted, it does kind of get screwed over by damage over time statuses, but even so, Markov's Weight, A tier, +2 powerful well, pretty good, and accurate is one of the better counter. The only real ways to counter the dodge strats, which is also really good. Granted, you don't always see counter dodge strats, but they're common enough for that to be worth it. Master Soul, also A tier. It's not quite single-use nature of it means it's not quite birthright tier. And you do have to wait for a while to use it, no matter what. But yeah, I think it's still very customizable. And if IF3 has shown me anything, yeah, no, it's good. Mega Rush, C tier. This would have been D tier, but on here just from how hard it is to really do anything with it. But yeah, as it turns out, Supernova made a build work, and I'm scared. But since it clearly can't work, and when it works, but oh boy. Mirror Frost. This is a strange one. I think I'm gonna put it in C tier alongside the other Cooper badge, though. It's like multiplying your HP by 1.5, sort of. Since it can only be used once you're below half HP, but once you do that, it doubles your HP. But you also can't restore HP for the rest of the match, and I could see it being useful sometimes, but it's not always great. Monica's Care File. 3 turns, ignore opponent's positive statuses while attacking them, and yeah, I think that's good enough. I think positive statuses are pretty prevalent, and with being able to bypass stuff like dodgy or invisible and rainbow, that's pretty powerful. Monopoly card. This is a serious contender for S tier, honestly. 100 coins every 4 turns. I think I think the fact you have to spend a turn buying the item is enough to drop it down to A, but items are really good now, and especially with lightning item, removing that downside. I mean, I wouldn't say it's not S tier, but it's another one of those ones that's I'm very strongly considering putting there. Now this used to be C tier too, so that's really good. Mortar, A tier. It's basically a mega attack for the cost of a power attack. What more do you want? I mean, sure, it has a turn delay, but I mean, who cares, really? You can do stuff on the second turn, so that kind of takes care of the big downside of it. Multi-attack. I think this is B tier. It does the job. You can do a lot. Its red attack in particular does great, does wonders against summon armies like stuff Ceramic Looney does, but Nanomachine. Nanomachines, son. I think it's B tier solely for the fact that you can stack them and they work really well with dodge badges, and especially these perfect badges that are coming up. Natsuki's Carafile. Dodge every 4th attack against you and restore 2 FP when you dodge. You see, the thing is, it's not always active. It's not a long cooldown, but I'm pretty lucky on a timer. It's not the most useful thing in the world. So and since you have to actually go ahead and activate, I think it's going down to C. Nah, I'm not that mean. I think it's B tier. Nighttime Bell. A tier, right alongside Monopoly card. Pretty similar strategies, it's pretty similar, just the Soul Stone and the slightly spendier. It also doesn't really, you also can't really save up money with it like you can with Monopoly card, but eh. Off Guard. Same tier as Charge, really. Owlhawk's Focus. This is a strange one. I think it goes into B tier. It's particularly good with characters who have really expensive moves, but it's generally still... Most characters are still going to prefer a Flower Saver over Owlhawk. Alright, what is this one called? I legitimately forgot. Oh, wait, there we go. Oxjack's Fury. Don't you have any power buffs? Gain priority. Priority is a strange topic, and honestly, it's usually not that great, but, I mean, situations where it does something, it really does something, so I'm gonna say it goes well here. Parasitic Friend. What else? Get the exact stats of the Tentacle Friend. Right. I think this is, I'm gonna say B tier on this one. It's pretty good. It's not winning any awards, but Tentacle Capture is a good enough move, and just having an extra buddy there is always nice. I mean, you're never gonna complain about having a summon, you know? Alright, next up is Parfait Oven. I think it's pretty good with fire characters, but that's about it. In fact, I'd say it's amazing with fire characters, actually. Seer is pretty good, and it doesn't even use up your turn, so... Sure, it doesn't work with anyone else, but yeah, B tier seems about right. Alright, P down D up. I think I'm gonna have to... I think this one's an A tier. Support-based characters really love this one. And even if you're not, the defense is never bad, and the downside of losing one POW can usually be worked around. Bakaboo, A tier, basically just an easy pick. Perfect Cherry Blossom. Should really be called flower something, but what can you do? Accurate is... Accurate... I guess while we're here, we'll talk about Perfect Cutter as well. Making your text accurate is interesting. I don't think it's especially amazing, but it's nice to have, I suppose. Is it good as flower power, though? No. Perfect Cutter, on the other hand, I think... Yeah, I think this also goes here. Plus, Piercing is just not as good as having +2 power, which I think is B tier. Since we know, perfect builds are harder to maintain than danger builds, but when they work, and there's a lot less risk involved with them, you see? Perfect Saver. I think that goes down here as well. It just... +2 power is really good, you see. Petty FD Saver. B tier. Not a lot of characters can really use this, aside from, like, Hammer Throw or Focus, but, you know, the character's a kid. It's pretty nice for her, and, you know, it's only 1 BP, so it's not really too much of a thing. Petty Remnant. This is pretty spendy, and, you know, but making 2 FP moves free is way more accessible than making 1 FP moves free, and since it does make your other moves more expensive, I think I'm gonna put a B tier. Pity Flower, I think this is also B tier. Since, yeah, it's pretty good, especially if you're gonna get hit a lot, but it's never gonna give you more FP than Happy Flower is, and it's just generally less safe than Happy Flower. And it's kind of an anti-synergy with the dodge badges and stuff, so yeah. Let's see here. 6 spread. That's a poison power. Poison power is, yeah, this is an A tier. Pretty good. Especially in combination with 6 spread down here. So that basically just makes this 3 BP badge permanent +1 POW. And permanent +1 POW is pretty dang good. As it turns out. Anyways, Pokeball. It's another one like the D6, where instant flip, where I haven't really seen anyone do something good with it, but I'm sure there's something out there. This does take a Soul Stone slot though, so I'm putting it in C tier. I mean, it's free. It's a free badge. I don't think a free badge can ever really be objectively bad unless it's actually trying to. Challenge badges. But, you know, political determination is D tier. That's pretty much it. Let's see here. Portawagon. See, this is not a cycle, but it's also... And it's 4 BP, but it's also got some pretty decent summons out of it, and... I don't know, where would I put this? I think B tier works, but honestly, let me take a look at the summons again. I don't really remember this one too well. Where's she? You know what? I think that's no. Yeah, I think I'll go with A tier for the time being, but it's a tough call. Pot of Souls. You know what? I think this one is S tier. Yeah, looking at the Pot of Souls here, we've got This I'm actually not sure if this is 3-2-1 or just 3-2-2, but on repeat, they're not going to complain about that. It's kind of more death against parts that death is really good against. This Mini Wish, though, level 2 and level 3 are where it's at, though, since these are decent enough attackers, but they're really good supporters, especially for only 3 FP, or for 3 BP. And yeah, no, that's just good. Power Attack! I've been talking about this one for a while, and I think it's A tier. It's not as good as Dual Attack for obvious reasons, but the sheer power, and especially with Mega Attack, and it's pretty cheap too, so I think I don't know, it just does it's a nice simple badge, and it just does its job well. Power Plus. Also A tier. It's expensive, but +1 power is never something to complain about, especially in combination with, Dual Attack or Boomerang Blade. Oh boy, Power Rush. I think this is A tier. This is the other contender for S tier, but yeah. +2 power was really freaking good. Even with the diminishing returns, it's still really good for 1 BP. Power Swap. C tier. The thing is, a lot of characters can't really take advantage of this, and even the ones that can, I don't really see taking use of it much, since it takes 1 FP and a turn to switch the special moves, and having 1 extra special move isn't really the best thing in the world, especially since you also have to spend FP to get it back to what the previous one was. Pretty lucky. S tier. No questions asked. This thing is a beast. You can dodge attacks all the time, and it's only 2 BP. P up, D down. Yeah, A tier. That -1 defense can be worked around with stuff like the dodge badges, and it's +1 power for only 2 BP. And, oh boy, that when stacked with itself, you really stop caring about the defense since you're not really getting hit much by that point anyways. If you're I mean, you can't get hit much if you're killing them before you die, before they get hit. You see, this is why I stopped doing commentary on my videos. Quarter Bomb. Is this worth it? I mean, it's marginally better than Spread Attack, but not by a whole lot. And it takes a turn to use, and yeah, I'll put it on the same tier as Multi-Attack. It's not great. Quick Item and Quick Guard both go in D tier, since their really priority just is not that great, especially not on a single attack or single guard in the latter's case. Quick Item. Yeah, I think this is still D tier. Quint Laser. This one's interesting. 5 FP, deal 10 damage in 2 turns. I think this one goes in A tier alongside Mortar. It's kind of just a bigger, slower Mortar. Rage Attack. That's a lot of damage, but that immobilization is not the most pleasant thing in the world. So it also has Outburst Attack, which is just kind of the same thing, but more expensive and more damage, and still gets stunned. So yeah, I think it's B tier. It's just losing a turn can really suck in the wrong spot, but that is a really powerful attack. So yeah, I think it works out. Rally, S tier. The amount of strats Rally alone enables is honestly quite incredible. Like, seriously. You don't need your turn, spend 3 FP and someone else gets it. And that alone, just giving the same person another turn is really, really good. I see it with Everlasting Coffee being so high. Ready Up. A tier. Contender for S, especially with its synergy with some Soul Stones. I think it's not quite there, but it's staying close. I think most of the stuff that it's super broken with, like Brimstone and Falcon Punch, are banned with it, which is probably the only thing keeping it from S tier, but even with that in mind. Recoil attack. Synergizes well with Flower Power, and but besides that, it's basically the same as Power Attack, honestly. Resource Overflow. This is one I have a few things to say about, but you don't want since extra resources are always funny things to balance, especially with badges. I kind of prefer them just being birthrights and all, but as far as them goes, this is one of the least offensive ones, and I think for that in mind it goes into B tiers. Some characters will be able to make very great use out of it, others not so much, but whatever. What can you do? Rook's Quarter, C tier. Switching places can honestly be more of a detriment than anything, and yeah, I don't know, it's just +2 to yeah, it's +2 defense, which ain't the worst thing in the world, and I don't know. It depends, but I can't see myself ever really wanting to use this. Alright, I just took a day break, and after some reconsideration, yeah, Gap Guard is A tier. It's a guard badge, but it's also a guard badge that will instantly kill your opponent in 1v1s. What more do you want, really? Anyways. Saptac. Saptac, I think, is pretty good. I'm gonna put it in A tier. It's an attack and a heal. It can make progress on your opponent while negating their progress on you. And since the heal is based on how much damage you dealt, well, that's good. That means it synergizes really well with power buffs. It's not as much damage as power attack, but it doesn't have to be. Oh yeah, and its stack version, Leech Attack, is even better since it basically lets everyone heal off of that player for 3 turns. Even not by as much as at a time, it overall all adds up maybe way more. And it's only 4 FP too, which is pretty good. Saving Grace. I think I put this in D last time, but I think with the recent developments regarding Dave, I can't really say I don't think it's D tier anymore. It does enough helpful stuff, and it still works with danger strats, even if it doesn't work with mega strats or peril strats, I suppose. Scarlet Sword. This thing's gone through a few different iterations over the years. And honestly, I think it's still A tier. At least. Broken is not a terrible status, and Immune is pretty dang good, and it just does a lot, really. I mean, 2 piercing damage to everyone. And that's not a whole lot, but it synergizes well with Ready Up, and you don't want. You very much do not want to be on the receiving end of this, since, yeah, Immune can shut down a lot of bosses, and Broken can also do a lot, depending on which boss you're facing. Alright, let's see here. Scatter Gem. I think this goes into A tier alongside Everlasting Coffee. It's got a bit longer of a cooldown, and it might last longer, it might not, but overall, I'd say the utility of being able to bring another moveset in is just that good. Especially considering you're getting it on top of your existing moveset. And even with that, and sure, according to Mark, your second character can even base stack or appeal, but it's still a huge upgrade, and you're never gonna complain about moving twice, even if you. Nice. Let's see here. Shade Spur. This is a bit of a strange one. For 3 FP, deal 3 damage plus 2 for every stack of speed up or priority you have. Speed... The thing is, this one... It doesn't really become on cost unless you manage to have 2 stacks. It doesn't really become on cost until you have a stack of speed up or priority already, and it doesn't really become worth running until you have at least 2. At least compared to Mega Attack, since it's well, it is only 1 PP, but I'm gonna drop this into C tier. I imagine a few characters could use it well, but if you're not one of those few characters, good luck. I mean, I just couldn't see myself running it over Mega Attack, really. You know, considering it requires setup to work, and even if it's cheaper than Mega Attack, it doesn't really do you much more than it. Speaking of priority, Shield of Cthulhu. It's basically just power attack with priority, but you can't stack it. B tier, I mean, it does the job, but, like, priority is such a non-factor most of the time that I don't see this being good. Shock Shield. Shock Shield's interesting because electricity is by far the most common of the 3 elements, but I still think it's D tier. Like, yeah, sure, conductive, but even besides that, just what's it going to do for you? You know, I mean, you can't possibly slot this in for a boss fight, because, you know, you don't know what element the boss is going to have, and you can't like, why would you bother bringing this into, you know, a PvP match when you don't know what the other guy's gonna bring? Even if you do, Shock Shield just kind of ruins the game for them a lot of the time. Whatever. Sick moves. Yeah, just going in A tier. It's a dodge badge, and one that procs a bit more often than Pretty Lucky. Just, you know, it's just a dodge badge instead of, yeah. It's just a poison badge instead of always active, but, you know, 6 spread. This one is fun because it is very uniquely the only badge that lets you activate the poison badges forever. And that alone is very good. Sure, its actual effect of poisoning you, but also poisoning people who make direct contact with you, it does exist, but like, nobody uses this for that. Sometimes it'll help, but like, 99 times out of 10 it will not. So, but yeah, the fact that it can make poison power, sick moves, and as we'll see in a while, Vile Vigor. Vigor permanent and cheap for their respective, permanent versions. Well, except for Pretty Lucky, but it's also, but to say the thing is, sick moves is better. You dodge more often with sick moves than you do with, Pretty Lucky. Anyways. Simulation glitch. I don't remember where I put this last time, but I'm feeling C tier. It can do a lot while it's active, sure, but it's never going to be useful in a boss fight, and it's even while it's active during a competitive match. You know, you're down 6 BP while it's not active, and sure you can really ruin someone's setup, but the question is, can you ruin the person's setup enough to actually kill them while it's active? I think it's a cool badge, but the fact it's not repeatable and the fact it's just being so expensive means I don't really see this being an S tier, or even really a B tier. Single Strike. This is a funny one, since for some characters it's just better power plus, but other characters, yeah, you can go without it. I think it's A tier. Yeah, just since A lot of characters just don't have multi-hits or spread attacks, and this is just a pure upgrade for them. And even for characters that's not a pure upgrade for, it's still nice for, you know, your standard base attack and anything that does happen to fall into this category. Soul Drain. Now this is a funny one. I think it goes... Doesn't go in A tier alongside the other power buffs, though. I'm... I think I'm gonna have to give this one a reluctant yes. This one's a bit tricky, but I think it's, I think it's tiny. It can definitely compete with the other ones, and sure, you'll lose a bit of max HP out of it, but you can just invest more upgrades into HP if you're worried about that. And, yeah, it's, abundant stacking this thing is actually pretty useful. Gonna have to try that at some point. Soul Heart. I'm gonna put this in B tier. It's got its uses, you know, you're not going to complain about having 5 soul HP, but it's temporary, and yeah, you're not gonna get... It's not going to last too long most of the time, and it is 2 BP. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad it's not 1 BP, since otherwise PvP matches would be a nightmare, but yeah. Oh, let's see here. Soul of Phantasma. Getting into these badges now. What does this one do again? I don't remember. I know that's one goes Deep Nightmare, but... Yep, here we go. You can't move, heal HP, or receive positive statuses, and you take 3 damage per turn. But you can't be attacked. It says when someone immune to immobilization, it gives the other effects, but not the immobilization or unattackable parts. So yeah, this can do a lot actually. I think it's A tier, especially with the immune to immobilization parts, because you know the heartbreak and no positive statuses, or yeah, heartbreak, compromised, and Hellfire Inferno are all pretty nasty effects on their own. Soul of Anti-DNA. Now, this is a funny one. I think I'm gonna put it A tier, because you can copy some pretty nasty stuff with it. It's expensive, don't get me wrong, but I think it's earned that cost. And, yeah. I mean, it starts on a 3-turn cooldown, but like... And if you're using a cheap move, the cooldown doesn't last anywhere that long at all, and if you're using an expensive move, well, you just got that move for free, so... Yeah. Soul of Bullet Bro. Yeah, this goes at A tier too. The RC bullets are pretty cool stuff, and you don't want to be able to receive again to them. They can get some pretty beefy stats if you do, and there's 3 of them. Soul of Ceramic Ballooning. Well, I think I'm just gonna put this here, since this is also where I put Master Soul. And this is pretty good for pretty similar reasons to Master Soul. Nobody uses it because, you know, it is single use, and you do have to go in and make the effort of making the fusion, but when you got it there, you got it. It can do a lot of stuff. Soul of Dark Koopa. Yeah, this goes here too. 7 piercing to all foes is insane, especially with our good friend Ready Up. And, yeah, what else do you want, really? Soul of Decomposed Bro. Well, you see, the thing is, it's not supposed to be... The thing is, this mobilization is supposed to pierce immunities, but, like, nobody cares about that. So, it's going into B tier. The poison damage exists too, I guess, but it's like 2. Soul of Darkon. Let's see here. Debilitated photo flows with 3 turns, and on boss inflicts slow instead. Peace all immunities. Well, if piercing all immunities freaking works, then yeah, I can see this going into 8 here, but you know, what else do you want? Oh, Soul of Phelan. This is one of the early ones, I think. Should have been one of the earlier ones. Steal a badge to use yourself for 3 turns. Yeah, I see. This is just a. I think this one goes into 8 here just for being a more repeatable simulation glitch, honestly. And sure, it's not going to steal. Sure, it's not going to steal as much usually, but it also doesn't cost as much, and you know, plus it's not limited to 6 VP either. If you got someone that has pretty lucky or contractor plus, yeah, this thing's amazing. Soul Afflict. You know what? I think Mirror is just good enough to be here. I mean, Mirror for 3 turns, it basically just either shuts the opponent out from attacking you, or makes them pay. And you want it, and it also just reduces the damage you take generally. So, Soul of Flower Fuzzy. I'm gonna put this in A tier too. It's pretty easy health recovery on bosses, and pretty easy way to get rid of the opponent's FP in PvP. You don't see it used too much, but I think it's got some potential. Soul of Galeem. Honestly, if it weren't for them self-destructing, I'd put this in S, but I think this is still an A tier. Just for the sheer, whatchamacallit. The sheer versatility this thing has. I mean, any fighter you can use, you can do a lot of things to this. I mean, I could summon Minus Goomba with it if I wanted to. I mean, I'm not going to because I'm not unfair, but like, just saying. Something to think about. Soul of Gloomba. I think I'm gonna drop this down into B. Don't get me wrong, plus 5 charge is absolutely amazing, but that is a 7-turn cooldown, and that's longer than even a little battery will get you. Not by much, but still. And yeah, plus 5 charge is cool, but if your opponent is ready, you might end up wasting a bit of it. Soul of Hypercleft. Yeah, it's going into B tier too. Defensive stuff is generally not going to be as good as offensive stuff, and the airtight is nice, but it's not amazing, you know? You want more out of your Soulstone than you get out of this. Soul of Kingbro. I think this is coming with Soul of Hypercleft in B tier. Here, it's good, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't last very long, so the other guy can kind of just ignore it for a while and just not do much damage to you. Anyways, if you get it, like, at the exact right time of the boss, though, it can do a lot for you. Soul of King Knight. A tier. Adding the extra hit is pretty dang good. Particularly in combination with Rise, which is not really how intended for this thing to be used, but I mean, Chunka loves those things, so I guess that's what we're getting. Soul of Mai. Let's see here, what do we got out of this? Deal 3 fixed damage to foe and Frostbolt. Yeah, I think this one goes into... Does it? Nah, I think this one goes into B. Frostbolt is nasty, since it's basically Frostbite and Sparky in one, but I don't know if it's 5 BP nasty, you know what I'm saying? Especially since it doesn't tick down while it's still there, you know? Like, sure, negative priority and -1 death sucks, and so does Sparky, but... I just can't see myself wasting 5 BP on this, you know? Soul of Nature, bro. A tier, I think. It's very spammable, and it's synchronized with the summon badges. or at very least HP plus P. And yeah, no, I think, and these Florida plants aren't the easiest thing to just off, and they're also pretty good with any def drops you have to have. So yeah, I think it's just a solid badge. It's not gonna win you any awards or anything, but it does its job. Soul of Overdrive. Let's see here. 2 drone gunnies, 16 cooldown. Yeah, I think this one goes. Is this one worth 5 BP? These things can do a lot of damage, and since there's 2 of them, I think I'm gonna still put this into B. It's really expensive, and these things can definitely can get taken out by a spread attack much easier than the plant can. But these things do have a bit more quite a bit of firepower behind them. I don't know if it's 5 BP worth of firepower, I mean, compare this to Bill Blaster. Bill Blaster is, it does 4 damage twice, and this does less than that. This does less than that. That's because, they'll actually live through the turn, but also, this thing's, 3 HP is not a whole lot, and spread attack. Most bosses will have some kind of AoE that can just off them, like, immediately. Soul of Plumber Bro. I think this is an A tier. It does a lot for you. It's not. The thing is, it's basically you can't get hit or be hit, but you can also exit this state whenever you want. So, aside from just using it to juke out opponents when they're charging up or something. And, you can also use it to wait out status timers, or, just heal with Happy Heart or Happy Flower, and there's a lot of utility. And since you can leave whatever you want, you can also just jump the opponent in PvP before they can really do anything about it. Soul of Potential. S tier. This is probably the only soulstone I'm willing to put at S tier, and yeah, it's really good. Like, it is, right, sure, it's just common statuses and it's not uber statuses, but even so, you still got a lot of options like caffeinated, crit charge, I don't know, grudge. Seriously, there's a lot of stuff you can still choose from. Soul of Red Bones. I hate to do it, but I'm putting this in C. You're only going to get one good use out of it, and theoretically that one good use can really change the tide of the game, but its 3-turn cooldown means you could have just ended up wasting your turn trying to do the revive, and yeah, I don't know. It's possible. There's some uses that I just wouldn't see myself using it over another one, Soul of Salvia. A tier. Stealing status is good, and the damage is just the cherry on top. But you don't really need too much more than that. Soul of Scarlet Willow. I think I'll put this at B tier. It's pretty good for those matches that drag on for a long time, and once you get that big effect, that big effect is yours to kill somebody. No doubt about it. Soul of Spacestep. It's basically kind of like a redo for the past couple turns. No, if you know exactly what the boss is going to do, you see. Which, to be fair, some bosses might change up their patterns, because, why not? But, I think it's a fun enough soulstone. Debating between B and C. I really want to put this in B because it's just cool, but at the same time, C is it's also since it resets everyone, it's also just kind of a good chance it just doesn't do anything. So yeah, I'll just drop that down there. Soul of Sunshape. I think this is B tier. It's really expensive, but freezing and removing positive statuses is admittedly pretty good. So yeah, B tier. Soul of the Dark Lord. I think this is A tier alongside Soul of Nature, bro. You get a lot of options out of this, and for only one extra BP too, which is I'd say that's pretty worth it. Uh, yeah, I mean you get a healing option, you get a tanky option, you get a more offensive option. Yeah, it's pretty good. Sure, only one can be out at a time, but that's not really a huge deal. Soul of the Mirror World. A tier, just for the sheer amount of fuckery it can cause alone. I mean, come on. It inverses every status on the field, and if you're not using too many yourself, you can really screw over a boss with this. Soul of Tomb. A tier. Revival is always good, and sure this might have some restrictions on it. But it's also revival with +1 pound, +1 defense. Like, that's just good. Especially when you're using it on bosses. Because, you know, bringing them onto your side is never going to be a bad thing. Soul of Willow. I think this one got changed recently. 5 HP the intent. Yeah, that's actually pretty good. I think that's A tier. It's not quite a healing aura, but 5 HP to your whole team is pretty dang good. And it's got a decently short cooldown. Soul Survivor. Here we go. This is a cool idea, but I think this is going into D tier. If you're equipping this, you're planning on dying, and yeah, no, just I don't know, it's a cool idea, but you're gonna want if you really want to have this thing go off, you're gonna want it to be stronger effect than 5 soul HP and 2 POW, and yeah. Sparking Star. I think this is B tier. It can kind of fold. It can kind of do what both of the heavy badges do, but I think the danger effect is what really is the main reason to equip this, since 2 HP per turn in danger can really save you from a lot of things. Splinter Frost. I think this is going into C tier alongside Flinch Attack. Because if I recall, this is... Yep. Alright. Alright. Stat Attack. This one's strange. You know, thing is, dropping someone's max HP is only so good, but at the same time, it can really screw over a few people. It's kind of expensive for what it does, but I think, particularly in combination with Stat Sap, it can really ruin someone's day. Speaking of which, I don't know, Stat Sap is... It's kind of situational, yeah. I think both these badges are situational enough to just drop a tier. Yeah, since, I don't know, they're situational, but during those situational times where it's good, it's particularly good, so yeah. Yeah, it's, that saves it from D tier, I think, but I don't know, it's kind of expensive to run these, but if you're running these, the other guy should probably pay attention to that. Status charge. I'm gonna drop this into B tier. You can get some pretty long-lasting statuses out of it, don't get me wrong, but it's the 3FP. It's kind of expensive to do that, and it takes a few turns to really get a status charge running, so, yeah. I don't know. I think the only status is this would really be super worth it over just stacking a bunch of status pluses would be ones that aren't really that strong anyways, so, yeah. Since they'd have to be not that strong if you want them to last well. Status plus though, easy A tier. This makes the statuses last way longer and or well, one turn longer per status plus, but you're going to have more than one status plus, really. And you know, some statuses are pretty annoying to have for longer than a turn or two. So yeah, status reports. I think this might go into A tier. It's a risk. I'm not sure, but I think it deserves it. I don't know. I'm debating between this and B tier, but since, you know, sometimes bosses just don't use statuses on you, but I think it's 1 BP, and, you know, not just the opponent not being able to status you at all during danger is, I think, is worth it. Steel chair. This is a cosmetic badge. What do you expect? Steel gem replica. I think this one's an A tier. Basically makes it super tanky, and the status immunity doesn't hurt. Status immunity and +1 power doesn't hurt either. It's expensive and has long cooldown, but stop. What can the opponent do to you while you have this? Piercing attacks, sure, but those usually aren't that effective. I believe this one is Summon Revival. Let me just verify that real quick. I'm thinking putting this in B tier. It's not as good as Soul of Tomb. They have to be defeated by you, and that's not always going to be feasible. And, you know, the other guy can also just not use summons, you know? And if you want to use this on your own team summons, then you have to kill them. So, yeah. Sunshine Bottle. I'm gonna say B tier. I believe the damage has to be in a single hit, which means this doesn't really do a whole lot against multi-hits, but especially not against multiple targets. But I think those times where it does work are just those times where it does work how you want it to. It really works how you want it to. Super card. C tier. Honestly, considering D tier, but I'm not that mean. I mean, plus 2 defense isn't the worst thing in the world. But you know, how often are you gonna guard? Honestly. Susie badge, cosmetic. Syntax Comet. Yeah, I think this is A tier. Free charge and fast. It's really freaking good. Sure, it's a 6-turn cooldown, but like, come on. Come on, it's fast. It's not fast for as long as you'll probably get with Everlasting Coffee or Scatter Gem, but come on. It also has +3 charge attached to it, which is great. Tank Companion, A tier, probably the tankiest. Ironically enough, the tankiest of the summoned Soul Stones, and it's got some pretty solid firepower on its side. Might as well. It's expensive, but I think it's worth the cost. Tentacle Tangler. Let's see here. Tangler for 3 turns. Yeah, I think this one's going to D tier. Sorry, I can't say, but I just don't Tingler is very situational. The opponent can kind of just use projectiles, or I think even weapon attacks work. And I don't know, or they could. And this one has a okay. This one's cooldown isn't really doing it any favors. It's not the most expensive soulstone in the world, but yeah. Tetrastrap going as C tier alongside the other two stun attacks. This one does do more damage than Flinch and Splinch attack, and it's cheaper than Splinter Thrust, but I don't know, it's not enough damage for me to really want to put it any higher. And just uncanny good that you're spending 2 BP on this thing. Tornado's Persona card. I think this is D tier as well. If I recall it correctly, this one blocks your own badges as well, which is pretty trash. Which I think includes itself, funnily enough. I mean, this could be good if you're running a low badge build, but like, those never really work that well. I mean, if you're running True Soul, then you can't run this. The Star. Yes, it's going into A tier right alongside its Soul of Salvia. It trades off the damage and trades off damage for being more expensive and being it trades off damage and being cheap for also extending the durations of the positive status is stolen by 2 turns. I think that's a bargain. Thornflower. It's expensive, don't get me wrong, but making people who attack you lose a bunch of their FP, that's never something to complain about. Thorn Remnant. Yeah, I think this is A tier. Minus 2 FP costs is for just -1 defense is pretty good if our good friend Anti-Guy has shown me anything. And sure, the -1 def can come to bite you, but I think it doesn't come to bite you enough for how good this can be. Thorn Ring. Cuts your max HP in half, but also cuts FP cost in half. It's an interesting one, to be sure, but I think it's a solid A tier for the potential of danger strats alone. And even if you're not using it for danger strats, that half FP cost can really do a lot for you. I mean, imagine Bowser with this thing on. I mean, this Shagai Squad becomes a 5 FP attack, and that's pretty scary. Thorn Tap. I think this is C tier. Just worse Thornflower. And it might be better against something like, maybe like Leaf Cutter, or, oh, no, this is only contact attack, no, maybe it might be better against a base attack, maybe, or dual attack, but, yeah, no, it's not that great. Throw attacks, right into D tier, just, makes your base attack projectile based. This doesn't do anything 90% of the time. And even the 10% of the time it does, it might not even be positive. Tick Booster. A tier. Double the effects here. End of turn stuff, and some characters can really make use of that. Granted, sometimes it's the other guy who can make use of that, but Happy Heart and Happy Flower are pretty dang good badges. And this only improves the effects of those. Now, sure, Tick Booster can also backfire on you if the other guy is, toxic. But, hey, it's not something to complain about. And it might be 4 BP now, but it earns that 4 BP cost. I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot. Time Machine. I think this is A tier as well. Well, I mean, this thing can, let's see here. Someone's corner of yourself from 3 turns ago. I mean, sure. I mean, it's very hard for this thing to. I think this is really good actually, since it's kind of since it's just your HP and status from 3 turns ago. Well, it's not. It's probably not going to be too fragile, and since it has all your special moves, well, it basically just gives you double special moves for a while now, doesn't it? So yeah, A tier. Good FPS, honestly. Towards Little Invention. I think this is also A tier. It's It's pretty good. I think Bingo said it doesn't work on soul stones, but even with that in mind, a lot of characters that have cooldown effects on their attacks can you know, make pretty good use of this. And you know, if you don't have those, well, then I mean, you don't have to equip it. I mean, but it's good on those characters who want it, and who you know, have to wait for a while for some of their attacks. And yeah, the only thing is that you can't make it cooldown 0 turns, but you know, what can you do? TR85, A tier. This thing gives you +2 power for 3 turns for 6 FP, and it's sure it's expensive, but the +2 power buff is really good overall. True Soul. I think I'm putting this into C tier. I don't know, I just don't get it wrong. Having a lot more HP and FP is useful, but not having any badges sucks, you know? Like, not even a peel or heal or anything like that. So you usually only want to use this on the character who already has access to FP recovery. And those aren't the most common thing in the world. Vera. I think this is A tier. This is effectively 7 fixed damage for 9 FP, and that's honestly a bargain. I mean, sure, it's 3 BP if I recall, but the fact you can also spread this around as you want, yeah, no, it's good. Vessel Soulstone. Yeah, this is going down to C. Goop is a fun effect, and it's definitely powerful. Most bosses will be immune to it, and I don't know, most bosses will be immune to the possessed it gives, and unless they have a bunch of summons, that power buff isn't gonna do too much for you. Let's go over to I think it has the longest cooldown in the game too, which not doing it any favors. Vile Vigor, A tier, just like the other poison badges. +1 defense as long as you're poisoned or have some other negative status. Pretty good. Village Gift. I think this one goes into A tier for the synergy with coin characters alone. The coin characters are pretty common, and well, even characters who aren't can still make pretty good use out of this thanks to Monopoly cards, since basically it's to get up to 125 coins for Monopoly card proc instead of 100. And sure, you could just equip another Monopoly card, but the thing is, you can only have so many Monopoly cards. Alright, so this is great for having this on top of those. I could see this one going down to B, but I think coin character synergy is still good enough to the point where it works. Wachitaki. B tier. Stop steps aren't quite as good. Are a bit tankier than Piranha Plants, but only marginally, and they also have less power. Their slow down attack is cool, but it's not going to work on bosses 99% of the time. And on players, they could work around the slow. Usually, not always, but usually. Water Candle. I think A tier since, yeah, I think enough characters can break this with their stuff. It's basically it's really good for summon characters, and even if you don't, you can still bring Soul of Nature or oh god, Soul of Gleam. Oh god, Water Candle Soul of Gleam. Oh dear. Besides that, yeah, this thing can ruin a lot of days, I'm sure. And having more summons on the field, it's pretty good. I mean, it's 5 BP, I believe, but whatever. White Ribbon Gift is A tier. Removing buffs on your opponent is good always, pretty much. It might not do stuff against Rainbow or something, but like you don't really need it to, you know. Uh, Wilted Power A tier. Staying at low FP is not too hard, and that's why it's cost more than the other conditional power badges. But they really need it to be. I mean, it deserves that extra cost. I mean, like +2 power is great, and it's not too hard to stay at low FP, especially in combination with Wilted Saver, which honestly I think this is actually pretty good since. -2 FP cost when you're low on FP. If your character doesn't have too much FP to begin with, then this plus Habit Flower can basically just give you infinite of it. Or, yeah, you know what I mean. If your character doesn't have too many expensive moves, then yeah, if you just throw on Habit Flower, then you're not really gonna worry about that. Wilted Vigor. I'm gonna drop this one down to B tier. It's +1 defense at low HP or low FP, and well, that's not bad necessarily. It's still not great. It's not as good as +2 power, you know. I mean, same with Hold Fast, really. Wilted Wings. Yeah, this and Yadigaros's Wing go to S tier. Fast is just that good. This one's 5 BP, which is expensive, like. This plus Wilted Saver is, it might, I mean, I can see build with Wilted Wings, Wilted Saver, Tick Booster, and then Happy Flower, and that would basically set you for life. On some characters, anyways. Zap Guard D tier. No questions asked. Like, yeah, sure, sometimes it'll do something, yeah. And Zap Tap. I think this one's a very solid B tier. Oh wait, there's still one more. Zap Tap. Very solid B tier. Electrify can ruin some people's days, and even if it doesn't, it's only 3 BP, and you'll usually. It's pretty good against summon bosses, since summons will just attack you, and they just die when they try. Ceramic Looney comes to mind. And lastly, Zookeeper's Zeal, I believe. Sounds good before you in the turn order. I imagine a few characters can use this, but I just don't see this being that great most of the time. So, yeah. Alright, so there you have it. My objectively correct list of every single badge of the simulations. Yeah, I can't really fit this on screen. It's zoomed out as hell, but just. So, yeah. Here we go. It says, this took a while. Longer than I thought it would, but I guess I don't really know what I expected. I just saw the animation tier list by Mockrock, and then just oh wait, that looks fun. What if I did it myself? And I did it myself. If you're watching this video, I definitely did it. But yeah. Let me know what you think. I'm sure some stuff I didn't get totally right. Might have some written reasonings later, but yeah. I think that's it for today. See you later.